Okay, so welcome
Perfect.
to Discovering Creativity. This is, we are with Jerónimo. Do you speak Spanish, by the way?
Not that much, sorry.
Okay.
Un poco.
And he's from the Netherlands. Now, your company is in the headquarters is in the Netherlands, that's correct?
Correct, in Amsterdam located. Design Thinkers Academy.
Do you have any branches in the United States?
In the United States, yes, on the East Coast. And, well, Americas, also in Canada.
Okay.
And we tried to work with some people in Mexico, but that was before COVID, so that's faded out.
So I wanted to dig in deeper on this concept of empathy being with people having to be culturally sensitive, because empathy is going to mean different things and also be experienced in different ways depending on the culture or nation you are working in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what are some of the interesting discoveries you have found in this empathy area?
Yeah. You know what? It's so important that empathy is something easily said, really difficult to do.
Mm-hmm.
So what we are a global network. We have more than 25 different branches over the world. And that helps us to have that so-called foot on the ground, local flavor, a full understanding from people who have a similar way of working, because that's what we strategize about.
Yes.
But have that specific way to make sure that we tap into the local situation, the regional way of working. That's crucial.
Yeah. So the one of the things that that you were mentioning about empathy made me think of a TV show called The Undercover Boss.
Yeah.
And these are people that are the owners of a company, and big companies, but not everybody knows them personally. So they could be working in New York City, but they go to a place in Ohio, to a branch, and then they apply for a job, they get accepted there somehow, and they start working, like, for instance, in the distribution of pizza. So they get to know, but through working, through collaboration, through doing what everybody does, they start understanding, okay, so what is the culture of the company in this branch? And are these people really representing what we stand for? And what are some of the unfair practices that could be happening in this place? And how are these people feeling about all the terms of employment, from holidays to working hours to support, etc.? So all that is part of the empathy. So I think that TV show helps people understand a little bit some of the things that could be involved.
I like that a lot.
In understanding.
I've seen all those.
You do the work. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, absolutely. Of course, side note, there's a camera on it, so people behave in a different way.
Yeah, the voice is going to, I think it's not going to be
fine. But we recognize that. That's something what happens a lot with our clients as well. They start to talk about their clients, their consumers, instead of talk with them. And if we set them in a situation where they really meet their clients, not to sell something, but to listen to them, that's sometimes mind-blowing for them. There's such a distance between, it's so easy to have such a difference on sea level to the actual reality, that you make decisions having so much influence, but don't come with empathy at all.
Yeah, it makes me think about the fact that sometimes when we are trying to persuade people about the wonderful programs that we have to offer and trying to make some connections with the needs of the client, maybe we are trying to give a great solution to a small need. And we forget what the big need is and try to come up with something that could be more useful for them, because we don't understand what they are going through.
Correct. And two things about a simple one. If you have to persuade them, that shouldn't be.
Uh-huh.
You invite them, you let them be part of it. That's already where empathy comes in.
Yeah.
You already know how. That's not about convincing. That's about having collaboration, true collaboration.
Yeah, in a collaboration or co-creation, the interesting thing is that sometimes even the ideas that you are, the beginning of the ideas that you are implementing, they could come up with a thinking between the client and the provider, and that will be the best thing, because then the client is going to buy into it a bit more.
And secondly, the difference to me between creative problem solving and design thinking is that design thinking focuses on looking if we have the right challenge before we solving it. And sometimes in creative problem solving, we are so much focused on generating those ideas, make them in such a way applicable to the situation, that we forget to check if that question is the right need to fulfill. So that's interesting where those two comes together.
Yes.
Spend a bit more time, analyze, be empathic, learn from them, your clients, those most important end users, those who you impact the most, how they perceive reality, what they tell you as their needs, and see if you're able to fulfill those needs. That's such a different approach, because you start from the outside. You let them tell what you have to do. Of course, it's hard for people to tell what they want, what they need. So it's not a single loop. Tell me and I will fulfill. No, it's a learning process. You start in that way and you offer that. Is this what you need? Well, now you show me this. I would reframe it. It's slightly different. And that's where the collaboration starts. That's where you will start to work together in that true collaboration, like you said, and building, using our knowledge, all about technology, trends, whatsoever, and their needs as clients, and bring those together. And that's where the added value comes in the most.
Yeah, it seems to me that sometimes, because people get used to working in different ways, sometimes there are points in the process that could be what I call assumed pains or assumed frustrations. So the challenge there would it be wonderful if? What would happen if? And then, we have can that be done? Because they think that that can never be done. So, for them to use a little bit of imagination and say, well, I would be willing to try something to get this frustration that I have had to live with for 20 years.
Yep. And of course, it's a combination of attractiveness of the new.
Yes.
And the anxiety to leave the old behind.
Yes. That's the whole change
thing.
Two
powers. Yeah.
The change thing.
And of course, you can focus on that promising new future state, or you can try to lower that anxiety of leaving the old.
Yes. There's the whole thing about having a pilot project, a prototype, something that where you can experience with a low cost for the company and for the customer. So those are key things. Go ahead.
I just wrapped up a 2-day training with a company, and what's so challenging about design thinking, creative problem solving, and what's so challenging for them is that at a certain point, they start to think, let's say, that they start to understand what the situation is about, and then they fall in love on their ideas produced, which makes them a little bit blind for the fact that there are so many assumptions underneath, baked in. So if we ask them, what are those assumptions? Or let's do it in the scientific way and define hypotheses to check. Then you're not selling your product, but you're making a test plan of all kind of hypotheses, first of all, to test before you maybe will be able, but probably that will change, that product you have in mind. And that's something that's hard for people to accept, that there is such a difference between the quality of your idea and the process to get there.
Yeah, it seems to me that one of the great, sometimes those insights, they take years for us to come up with and understand. There is such an emphasis on deferring judgment as a negative thing and deferring judgment as a positive thing. In other words, the whole thing about judgment is master your negative and positive emotions over ideas, because they may lead you astray. There's something that we maybe love about the idea, but that's because we tend to be biased towards it, and we just look into the dream come true without seeing the flaws that everybody sees. Everybody sees.
I'm absolutely agree with you. I think it's my opinion that postponing judgment is created for non-creative people to enter that field of creativity, learn to deal with that.
Yes.
But that's just a start. You know what? Strong creative teams use judgment, but they don't take it personal.
Yeah.
It's part of the process. Every day, every time. That's where you see what the strong performance of creative teams is about, how they deal with that judgment. Because it's such a power, it's such an engine.
Yeah, evaluation. Some people, so if you look into the evaluation, the cognitive evaluation of an idea is giving you the strengths and the weaknesses based on evidence, not opinion. Not because I feel great about this, I feel so bad about it. But why? I don't know. I feel bad. Okay, so that's not really helping us. That's not helping us to move forward. So it seems to me that that's one of those areas that when you're managing a group and managing egos, then it's so important to know how to help people to have, as you mentioned, a thick skin to say, because it's not don't take it personally. Basically, it's always about a more positive outcome for the company, a better design, better thought through solution that takes into consideration positive and negative future consequences. So those are interesting aspects. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you is, through all this observation, all this empathy, all this data, well, I consider data gathering in many ways, looking for insights, looking for needs, etc. So what is the role of data or evidence in the creative problem solving or design thinking process in order to be effective? So basically what happens here is that we are all human beings, and we know two ways of doing things. One of them is with a desire to construct, to build something. But if you have a very much of a political spirit, that's the only way I can think of it. So I just want to. I'm going to use evidence in my favor. I want to emphasize the huge urgency and importance of the two good facts that we have found, and minimize the 10 things that are wrong about it, the facts that go against me.
It needs quite a lot of guts to admit what you don't know, and that the creative process is mainly to find evidence, data, to get those blind spots filled in with evidence. That needs quite some guts for people to admit that. So data is crucial.
Yes.
Why and how? To make sure that you checked your assumptions, like we already discussed. And that makes any concept stronger if that evidence is there, that you proved elements are right about it.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of discovery of something that could be true, and then confirmation through experience. So it's a little bit of and that's what prototyping is about. You're prototyping to confirm,
of course,
that your basic assumptions about that you thought that they were so important for the client eventually happen to be that, and that there's a great satisfaction on what you have created, even though it needs to be improved.
Yeah. And the paradox, or the two sides, the polarity in this is as well, try to not want to know as long as possible at the same time.
Yes.
So it's data driven, it's evidence based, and it's being all the time
flexible,
open-minded, add to it, challenge yourself, make sure that you twist, shape it, turn it around, because it isn't only that. And that's interesting, those two sides. Because are you only on that, let's say, explorative side, you won't get anywhere. But if you are too much fixed on the data, you will stuck where you are, because data tells what's actually there. You need that futures thinking as well. So that's the combination of those two. But sometimes, mostly, people have a preference on one of those sides. But the true creative mindset is making, in some way, that infinity loop between those two poles.
Yeah, well, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, so the two questions that came into my mind in order to create some sort of balance there is to assess the importance of the information you have, and always have two questions in mind which are difficult to accept. Number one is, what am I missing? And the other thing is, what am I misunderstanding?
Yeah. Yeah. And so it starts with being aware of your biases. Yeah. It starts by reflecting your own performance, being aware of the patterns, the ways of working. Well, we're back on culture. It's so important to have that full understanding and the willingness to see if it helps, if it really will reach our goals, having that set like we normally like to deal with each other, be with each other, if that's still of help to make that next step.
So can you share with us some of the maybe concrete successes that you have seen in terms of if you have trained people, shifts in thinking that you have observed in people?
Yeah, that's on quite some different levels. Mm-hmm. If we start, we have done projects with clients, bigger ones whatsoever. They really didn't know what was happening in the field, out there in the market. And we gave them tools, we gave them the opportunity, sensitivity to understand much better what is happening there. So it's that research, it's that ethnographic research we talk about in design thinking. Sometimes we have projects, they stopped after that research moment. Why? It was enough for them. They had so much signals coming in. They had so much things to deal with as actual situations to change, that they said, we come back to you in half a year or a year to talk about further plans, because we have enough on our plate at the moment. But we also have clients who tell us, don't come up with research. We know it. Here are the reports. These are the things that listed, fine. Google it, you will find it. This is the real problem. Help us to design an answer. And you know what? Then we use that energy, that strong opinion, if they think they are right, to prototype as soon as possible, which makes those prototypes the start to test, getting feedback. And what happens? 99 out of 100, they get feedback they didn't expect, which will make them be aware that they still had that bias when they briefed us. So those two, just to give some examples of it, and that's so. It's funny. It's really such a simple. You can drill down design thinking, creative problem solving by that divergent, convergent thinking. Call it a double diamond, whatever. What that helps us, if you're aware of that creating choice, making choices, that breathing in, breathing out, that analysis and that solution-driven mind, those two in that rhythm all the time, that you really can say, if you're aware of it, that process will help you anyway. It isn't maybe so linear as I explain it right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit more messy, or it's a bit
Yes.
more mixed. But it sounds like something silly, but yeah, if you're aware, you can trust the process every time.
Yeah, I find that these observation, the ethnographic analysis or interviewing of all these methodologies to obtain unique, diverse, important, meaningful data, that is an essential part of the process. And even as you go on to design the question, what are we really after? What do we want to design? And then you come up with a solution, and you improve the solution, and you have your prototype, and you try it out. Always thinking, what do we need to know now in order to make this successful? There is like a data imperative in problem solving that I never seen as important as now. It's like and because it's so easy for me. I love questions, so let's come up with. Let's reframe the problem. What are we looking for? I can spend 3 days doing that. Okay, we come with that. Let's come up with ideas. The whole thing takes so long that eventually you come up with so many things, and that's one of the drawbacks of creative problem solving, that you come up with a lot of stuff that is off track. It's a lot of effort, mental effort, just to look for. Now you have to look for exactly what you really want, but it has novelty. But in what ways is this helping us to solve this problem and meet the key thing we are looking for? You need to have not only the mind to come up with a creative novel idea, the mind to make that idea work in a unique ways that adds value, like it's 10 times more value than what you would do otherwise, because for the mediocre idea always is going to be there.
And I think I can even diversify your model, which you explain. What we, from our experience, a rule of thumb for us, you iterate, you will follow that way of working, that double diamond, so to speak, mostly at least 4 times. The first time, it isn't so much about solution finding. You think you're on a solution journey, but what you do is that the result will be that you as a team, project team, know better what the challenge is about.
Yes.
The second time you're looking at the data, or you get more, you start to dig deeper in what really are their needs. What are they actually saying? You were not able to hear that in the first time because you were much more internally working on that challenge. Now you start to listen. You be more sensitive, empathizing with it. That creates a first small and real understanding. You share that, and they start to reflect on it. The third time, okay, now we're on track. We're moving from that analytical part to a more solution set where you start to work and improve concept. But then it's still on the drawing table. It's still a bit artificial. And so in the final step, you need to bring it to the real world, which is sometimes quite a challenge to build that bridge between the testing environment, the safe company innovation R&D settings, to the harsh reality. And that's another challenge. So you start with mainly learning about yourself, listen to the others, starting to find answers, and implementing it.
Yeah. I suppose pilot projects, or depending on the products, the sooner you can get the real world to give you some feedback, the final user,
Of course,
the better.
That will shorten that process. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's again, that's going to give you insights on usage, on the value from this customer perspective, which helps you understand what you have done and what you whether aligns with what you intended and what the customer had suggested. All that is extremely useful in terms of alignment and clarity. And I think that those are two principles that guide this whole process: alignment and clarity. Are we clear? Are we discovering? Are we aligned to what we have found out to be most important? I know this conversation is just going to the skies in terms of conceptualism, but again, so what you do, let me know, correct me if I'm wrong. You are a company and you're doing something similar to what IDEO is doing, or not?
Indeed. We are a training company and we are a consulting company.
So when you train, you do like 3-day training?
Yeah, 5-day trainings, 2-day trainings, indeed. Yep. The biggest difference is that IDEO is mainly a design agency doing trainings.
Yes.
And we think, it's the other way around. Help them the competencies instead of showing off how good you are. Just to balance a little bit how IDEO is working. But they're doing great. It helps us. It helped us a lot.
Yeah, no, the pie is big because everybody needs this. Everybody needs this. And so once you go through imagine you have 20 people and you're training them for 5 days. Wow.
Yeah.
Have you talked to them like 1 month later? Say, okay, what are some of the changes you have seen in the way you work or think thanks to the training?
That's a lot. That's a lot. That's on a mental level. That's on a process level. That's about interaction with people. There's so much which is changing by such a 5-day or a 2-day training as well, of course. But you know what? It's a muscle you have to train and continually practice.
Yes, I completely agree.
So that's also something people forget. They think, okay, it's in my head. It's not that much the brain. It's in the heart. It's in the hands.
Yes. And that's a very interesting thing. People talk about muscle memory because in the hands. What do you do with your idea? What do you do with your idea? I'm going to show you something. Because what I done apart from the T-shirt, but I have something else.
Yes. Please.
I know that this may sound like a very childish thing, but I don't care because I just think it has a purpose.
Playfulness is a crucial element. There's nothing much of childish in it. Nice. Yes.
So this is one way I promote my class. And this is green tea with ginger, lemon, something healthy.
Perfect.
So yes. I've given 150 of these, and I prepare another for tomorrow, another 200 of these different types of teas.
Wonderful.
But basically, it's creating an experience. So, but the reason I brought this is because what are you doing with your hands?
Yeah. So
you know that we have Halloween tomorrow. Halloween, this thing. So Halloween people knock on doors, and they ask for candy. So tomorrow, I'm having my students go to the library, and what I want to tell them on an email is that I'm bringing you 200 small bags of candy to give away. It's not about people knocking on your house to ask. It's for us to knock on the doors of people's hearts to give.
Wow. Yeah, nice. Really nice.
So this is the concept of reverse. Reverse. How can we reverse something? So I'm going to write it down for them so they can understand. What are the events that happen in your life where you always expect people to give you something? What if you could use those days, birthdays, anniversaries, weddings, to give things away?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to share that with you because I thought I always think that if we don't walk the talk,
True. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Work it. Stop talking. Start doing. That's all what it's about.
So, what do you think about this? I don't know if you have this book or if you have heard about it, but this is a book of by Liedtke.
I
Has
am a
written.
big fan of Gene Liedtke.
Oh.
We organize every 2 years a design thinking conference in Amsterdam.
Oh.
And the last edition was just a month ago, and she was one of the speakers. Because she also wrote that book about experimentation, that workbook.
Yeah, this is the one.
No, that's an older one. There is a newer one. She made a new book. It's full of a workbook, a practical guide to do experiments. Please check. Okay. That's really interesting. And by the way, I like that growth book because that's what she did in that book was giving people who have much more of a manager's hat on.
Yes.
Good introduction to design thinking. So that's what I like about that book a lot.
I took a training with her through Wharton University.
Yep.
So that was a few years ago. And I thought that, well, I can see here design thinking for the greater good. No, it's going to be something else. Design thinking.
Let me check. I will
maybe what about the experimentation field book?
Correct. That's it. That's her latest. It's a really fine, hands-on book. I like it.
Good. So yeah, I'm teaching this class to graduate students and undergraduate students in the spring. So I'm putting together some activities for them and some things that they can read, do, and hear, and then share with people and experience the power of this methodology. But I mean, I'm just off track with this. So basically, one last question: if you had to, and I know this is a bit selfish question, but never mind. If you have to talk to, and this is also for students in the Netherlands, if you had to talk to university students about the value of what we call this design thinking mindset. There's an Italian writer, Italian lecturer who has come up with something about this. The value of the design thinking mindset. Why do you want to learn about this as a life skill? How would you go about doing that?
I would start journalizing every morning.
Mm-hmm.
When you wake up, 10, 50 minutes, postpone your judgment, let your hand do what's necessary, do it with a pen, the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
Just all your thoughts, list them. Don't stop, 10 minutes, 15, the first time it will ache your hand, but at a certain point you will be able again to write for 10, 15 minutes. That's such a nice start because that releases you from all kind of things which were all around. Then you've got that open mindset. That's something which I would do in combination with the fact that you try to challenge yourself to do every week something new. Which means, first of all, you have to know what are your habits, what are your normal ways of working, and let them change them. Give yourself those assignments which will broaden the scope, which will give you a deeper understanding about yourself, about your biases, and that leads to a better understanding how you try to deal with the world. That's what I would do as well.
Oh, thank you. It just made me think about this whole thing about this volunteering work. Where can you volunteer to do some sort of give some sort of service to people that could help you think about how that works?
Yeah, absolutely. And in the chat, I added also a book of Gerard Puccio, Creative Leaderships. that's also an interesting book. If you haven't
Yeah,
read
I got
that,
it.
for you,
I got it. I did a master's in creative leadership with Buffalo, 2004,
perfect.
2005. But I got the book once they published it after that. The first one was with Mary Murdoch, and so it went. It's just a very, very useful book as well that I use with my students. So, well, let me just thank you so much.